y'all, I'm Hope here at Crafty Hope. I welcome you to my channel. It is time for me to work on my week 48 mixed media prompt project for the challenge I created that we're calling Crafty Hope Prompts. This started back in October. That's how I'm on week 48. And there was a lull in prompt challenges, so I was like, you know what? Why don't I create my own? Why don't I build up a prompt deck? There are 52 cards in a playing card deck, 52 weeks in a year, and that is a great opportunity for me to make a deck of cards with prompts on them, as well as use the prompts. So every Monday I've been drawing 3 prompts from a list I made of 156. I've got that full list below for you if you want to use it in some way. But I've been drawing 3 prompts a week and altering a playing card using those prompts. One side I have the prompts on them, but I use those prompts on both sides of the card. So I have a functional side and a decorative side. Then on Saturday of every week, I'm sharing with you a project I've also done using those same prompts. This is that project. Before I get into the project, I want to invite you to play along with this challenge. You are welcome, like I said, to take that prompt list and use it any way that you want to use it. Or you can play along with me and use the prompts that I pull and make a card or an art journal page or whatever. That's kind of what I do with my projects. I'm doing something beyond a card. Art journal pages, I think I just did a junk journal page this past week that was really nice. I've done art journaling, I've done assemblage projects and jewelry and bookmarks and wall hangings and all kinds of stuff. There's a full playlist that'll be clickable for you at the end of this post. And if you have any questions about any of this, just let me know. Make sure though, if you play along, you tag me and use that hashtag CraftyHopePrompts so I can see what you have created with the prompts. Okay, so my prompts this week for week 48, I made this card using the prompts rag, rug, fabric, photo booth, and thread. So let me show you what I've pulled out and what I'm thinking of doing for this week. Rag, rug, fabric. I have, can I get to it? I've pulled out my big bin again, y'all. This is just a tight bin that is full of different rag rug fabrics in it. I've pulled apart a rag rug. Now, if you don't have a rag rug that you've pulled apart and think of any kind of scrap fabric you have kind of laying around, or something else, maybe some old clothes that you've torn up, or something that has a hole in it that you're never going to wear again, something like that. That's all rag rugs are made out of, is scrap fabric. So kind of go in that vein, however it takes you. Now for photo booth, there are these strips, and I didn't even pull one out. It's a Tim Holtz product called Photo Booth it's a strip of 3 photos like this, like this, like this. This is the one I altered in the video when I made this, but yes, I think so. Anyway, and you are welcome to use any kind of product you have that features like a face like that, or like a yearbook photo, or anything along those lines. I just ordered and got in these, which are the Photomatic. And you can see they're a bit larger than the photo booth, and so I thought, you know what, I really do want to play with those, so I think that's what I'm going to use. These are brand new, and I am going to break open this pack and not let them linger, and actually do something. Let's take a look. Okay, so the back of these are just plain, and let's see how thick they are, because like I said, these are brand new. They're about the same thickness as the photo strips, maybe a little bit thinner actually. And you can see the back of the photo booths have like a texture-y, it's not a texture on it, but it looks like aged paper or something. Whereas this is just, plain paper. And is still slick like the front side. So that's what I'm going to use, or one of those. And then number 3 is thread. Y'all, I still have the thread out that I used and had out in Monday's video. I also have my little container here that has other little bits of thread and things in it that I may, use something from here. So, as long as it's thread. I'm considering embroidery floss also to be thread for the most part. So, I think I'm going to make a tag. I have, yeah, I've done tags several times. I've done them out of pre-made tags. I've used these flashcards before, but that's, you know, what I kind of decided I want to do this week is make a tag. Yeah, so using my things. I think thinking about the rag rug fabric makes me think about how I most often use it, which is as at the top of a tag like this. So I thought, you know what, that's perfect. Let's not overthink it. Let's do what we know. So I am going to get to it and take you along for this ride. Let's see where we go. This tag came together fairly simply. I began it like I do a lot of things with which is with some collage. I'm using an acrylic matte medium. It's a little clogged, so this video is going to jump around just a little bit as I try to unclog that little bottle. I've got like a huge bottle of that matte medium, or that that matte medium, and I've put it in a smaller container that I can handle a bit better. So, and I'm collaging some things. I found a stash of papers in a lap desk thing, like the pocket of a lap desk, and was like, you know what, I'm gonna put these on my desk and I'm going to use them. So that's what I'm pulling from, and they're just scraps. They'll probably end up in my scrap bin, but for now I'm collaging on the tag. This flashcard has both sides of it have the, you know, because it's a number flashcard. One side though is kind of matte and the other one's shiny, so I'm working on top of the shiny one for some reason. It doesn't really matter. And as you can see, I was getting the matte medium all over my my table there. I've just got some, that's like a kid's scratch pad paper that I've got there, so I can try to change that out a little more often. I had somebody mention that my desk was looking a little busy with all the paint and stuff, but so we'll see how long I can keep this clean. Probably not very long. All right, so I'm really just going to cover up the entirety of this tag, and I'm not worrying about how much paper it takes. I just don't want the same paper on it. I wanted a little bit of texture in the background, and I'm achieving that by layering some papers. So once I get this piece down, that's pretty much all of the paper I'm using. I don't know why I'm stopping there for a moment. Yeah, and I'm scraping off and all of that to get any of the excess. Now, once that is all done, I'm going to cut this down real quick, get the excess off the edges so I can kind of see what I'm working with here. And, you know, those scissors I have just about killed. I don't know if it's this video, but yeah, I really I have done something. If you know how to like clean those scissors, so that I may have to just get like, I don't know, some sandpaper or steel wool or something to clean off some of the excess glue that's on there. I will pull in, I think, a little bit more of the matte medium to get this final edge here. I always have trouble with the corners for some reason. See? Yeah, and that wasn't even like the original first layer. I don't know. It's always those edges. I'm just checking everything, getting it all covered. Yeah. How are y'all doing? Are y'all enjoying this challenge at all? I'm amazed that there's only a few more weeks left of this, like a month left of prompts and challenges, and I'm contemplating what I'm gonna do next once this is over. So yeah, I know y'all have given me a few ideas. I'm thinking on things. I may take a break for a little bit and give myself to the end of the year and maybe start something new in January. So I'm thinking on it. So, but if you have suggestions, I'll take suggestions, but I'm not committing to anything at this point. Okay, so the next thing I decided to do was add a little bit of color. So I pulled out two different paints. This one is, I think, a Delta Cream Coat in Periwinkle. And y'all, when I pulled this out, I can remember when I bought this was... Y'all, I'm trying to think how many years ago, like over 20 years ago. I think that's right. The other one I think is an Anita's acrylic in maybe Hawaii. So I kind of mix those together a little bit. I realize I covered up a lot of that collage that I really like there. So I'm going to scrape it and smear it and scrape it and smear it. Trying to reveal some of that texture and some of the those papers that I put in the background, but I keep not liking the way it scrapes, so I smear it again. So I'm deciding to bring in a little bit of white acrylic paint to push it back, and y'all, I put it right on that paper, and I was like, you know what, that was I'm probably gonna get something in that. So I kept an eye on it to make sure I didn't run anything through it. But again, I'm using my fingers and dabbing through that. I'm really enjoying the soft lines I get when using my fingers with the paint lately. So that's what I've been doing. I've really enjoyed it. And I wanted to add, while this was wet, add some texture straight into it. And I started to grab a bamboo skewer, but was like, no, what I want is a colored pencil. So I grabbed the first one closest to me, which is this, I think it's Daler Rowney. It's a highlighter pencil in like a hot pink. And it's not going to add a whole lot of color. There's a little bit of that pink in there, but not really. More than anything, it's just scraping into that paint and giving me some really lovely texture. I'm in love with that texture. So once that is dry, I have narrowed down my Photomatic pictures here, and I decided I'm going to go with that girl on the top. Something about her is just too cute. But I didn't want her. I knew I don't care for super squared edges, so I decided to cut her down somehow. And I kind of liked the palm tree that you could kind of see in the background of this photo. So I didn't want to like just do her like profile. So I did this arch, which I am in love with the shape. It kind of makes me think of a window or something. So I'm thinking about maybe doing something later kind of with that idea of that shape. And again, I don't like the super structured edges. So I'm using the edge of those scissors to just fray. What do you call it when the edges, when you... I kind of want to say fray, but distress those edges just a little bit. And since they were distressed and added a little more white to there, I'm going to bring my ink dauber in with my blender. That's what it is. With some black soot distress ink on it. So I'm going all around that. And while I've got the ink blender out, I'm going to go ahead and ink all the edges of my tag, or my flashcard turned tag. So yeah, that just kind of brings that through a little bit. And I'm trying to remember what I do next. I'm going to clean off that, because since I did put that in the paint, I didn't want that paint to get too dry on that pencil. So yeah, I scribbled it off just a little bit. And I'm going to move her around a little bit, trying to decide where I think she looks best on here. And I'll end up just putting her in that bottom right, like around those, yeah, so she kind of fits in there. But since her picture is kind of dark, I wanted a little bit of darkening to the background. So I'm using a graphite stick. This is like the Lyra graphite sticks, I assume, but it's one I bought at the Dollar Tree. Now I did some quick splatters just by dipping that in my water and flinging it at my tag, and I started to dry it, but then I realized I really wanted a lot more splatters. So I'm going to dip it back into the water and grab a little paintbrush I'm also wetting, and I'm going to flick that graphite right onto my tag, and just really get a ton of splatters. I don't know if it's going to show up a great deal here because these are fairly tiny splatters, but you'll see them in the pictures at the end. It was, yeah. And so now I will try this in earnest. All right, so it is time to actually bring in some of those other, I've yet to bring in, other than that photo booth, I haven't brought in my other two prompts. So I grabbed a couple strips of photo booth. I was feeling very green because I've got the blue on there. Like I said, there's that palm tree in the background, so I wanted it kind of tropical feeling, and green felt right. And that first one was nice, but there wasn't a whole lot of it. So this one I had a bit more of. And it actually has some blues in it, which work great with the blues I've got going on in the background. So I wanted to, and it wasn't my initial idea to put it behind her, but I thought, okay, this way I can have this same rag fabric on the card and as like a, what do you call that? Like a tie on it as well. So I'm going to cut it down just a little bit, and then to back her up. So, but I also know I still need to bring my thread into this, and I know I didn't want to really sew on this card in some way. And when I wrote the prompts, when I put thread, I knew what I wanted was to bring thread in as a textural element, as a backer behind something. So I am going to find the the thread that's on my desk. This is some black thread that I got at the Dollar Tree. It's in the hair care section. I believe it's for like hair weaves. But it comes with a couple needles, and yeah, I was like, thread and needles, and I don't care what it's for. I can use it in art. So, I got a good length of that, and now I'm going to start gluing everything down once I clear up some of the glue out of my bottle. Y'all, it was a day of cloggy glue, but that's okay. I'm gonna make a pretty awesome card. I think it's pretty awesome. I hope you do too. So I put the glue just straight on my card, and then I'm going to start bunching up that fabric kind of behind her. Just like that. And before it dries too much, I'm going to move the fabric around a little, pull out the edges. I want them to show a little bit more. Yeah, just like that, while the glue is still, before it completely sticks. So I'm going to look at this for a little while, and I'm like, you know what? I need to put my my thread down as well. So I'm moving it around, and y'all, it doesn't matter. I'm going to pull it off. So I thought I was going to put the fabric tag right there. It was like, oh, I don't need to. If I just put it on the back of this Photobooth, then I can just sandwich it. So that's what I'm doing. Plenty of fabric tag on the back, and then just smushing her down. And I will put my hand on top of it and give it a second to set. First I had glue on my arm. I had to get it off. And the weird thing about Fabri-Tac is when it cures, it gets kind of like cold. So I was waiting for that cold feeling to go away, so I knew it was set. And did you see me scrape that white paint over there? And that was so I didn't get anything else in it. So I've pulled out my Tim Holtz Small Talk stickers. It may be time for me to buy some more of these. I do tend to overuse them, but I love them. They are so perfect. So I pulled out one, and of course I don't have the tag in front of me to tell you what it says. You can see that at the end, but I cut it down just to give it, I don't know, it felt like it needed to be 2 lines. One line was going to be too long, and there was like a comma there, so I cut where the comma is. And now I have, and in the process of getting my hole punch that was already popping up. So I'm adding a little bit of Oohoo glue stick to it to make sure that the sticker is secure. There's just so much texture on that card between the collage and the paint. It just needed a little help. All right, now I'm going to grab my fabric, and I'm going to cut it down a little bit thinner because it's kind of bulky to be like a ribbon, basically. So I'm going to just cut it just down the center of it like that. And yeah, and I need to punch my hole. And once I get my hole punch, I'm going to do a lark's head knot. And of course, I always have the problem. I'm going to remember this one day. So I start by I fold it in half, and then where the loop is in the center, I go in from the back. That's not what I need to do. I need to go from the front. So I start to do this, and I'm like, this is wrong. And I'm like, yep. So I undo it, and where that loop is, I'll insert it from the front and then put the ends through that loop that comes through, and then pull it up carefully. I don't want to tear it. I've torn it before. And that's it. This tag is done. I think it's fairly simple, but it's perfect. I hope you agree. I hope you are playing along. Make sure to tag me and use the hashtag, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for spending this time with me. I will talk to you later. Bye.